If you follow college football at all, you probably know Alabama has won a lot of national championships in recent history. And you probably also know that Alabama is notorious for claiming a lot of national titles from earlier years. In fact, as of 2019, Alabama claimed 17 national championships in its history. And you may be wondering, how did they get to that number? We decided to take a deep dive and figure out exactly where all 17 titles came from and just how legitimate Alabama's claims are on each one of them. Keep up, because we've got a lot of ground to cover. The 1925 and 1926 national championships were awarded to Alabama retroactively by both the Helms Athletic Foundation and the College Football Researchers Association. Yes, it's weird they were awarded years after the fact, but keep in mind, national championships weren't really a thing in college football at this point. The HAF and the CFRA championships are as legitimate as it gets for 1925 and 1926, and the NCAA recognizes both titles in its record books. By 1930, there were a few different groups giving out national championships, and that year, none of them gave their titles to the Crimson Tide. Alabama was named national champions in 1930 by 4 different organizations, but all of them were created after 1930 and awarded retroactively. Still, the NCAA lists Alabama, along with Notre Dame, as recognized national champion for 1930. In 1934, Alabama finished a perfect 10-0 season and number 1 in 3 separate ranking systems, but the Minnesota Golden Gophers also finished undefeated. When the dust settled, the Gophers were recognized by more ranking systems than Alabama as the 1934 title holder, and the NCAA lists them as the sole national champions for the year. Okay, so far we've got 4 national titles that are all varying degrees of legitimate, but for the most part, they're all at least decent claims for a national championship in the first part of the 20th century. But it's about to get a lot messier. In 1941, the Crimson Tide finished 9-2 and ranked number 20 in the nation according to the Associated Press. That's good for 3rd in the Southeastern Conference, a perfectly fine year. Except Alabama claims a national championship for this season. Confused? So was everyone else when Alabama started claiming this title in the 1980s. Now, technically, Alabama was named the 1941 national champion by the Holgate ranking system, which used a mathematical formula to rank teams, but the NCAA doesn't recognize this one, and honestly, it's by far the most controversial and questionable title. But good news, Tide fans, the next one is far less controversial. As uncontroversial as it gets in college football. In 1961, Bear Bryant, in his 4th season in Tuscaloosa, leads the Tide to an 11-0 record. This team only allowed 25 points scored against their defense the entire season. Alabama was named national champs in 1961 by the AP, the UPI, and the National Football Foundation. This one's an easy call. Let's move on. We've got 5 more Bear Bryant titles to look at. 1964, Alabama gets through the regular season undefeated and is named national champion by the AP and the UPI at the end of the regular season. Yes, that's when they used to do it back then. Alabama went on to lose to Texas in the Orange Bowl, while Arkansas, who was also undefeated that year and beat Texas, went on to beat Nebraska in their bowl game. After this season, the AP began awarding its national championships after the bowl game, which turned out to be a decision that would play very much in Alabama's favor the very next season. Michigan State and Arkansas lost their respective bowl games, while Alabama defeated Nebraska, claiming the 1965 AP National Championship. History tends to repeat itself even in college football, so the story of Alabama's 1973 national championship is going to sound pretty familiar. Alabama survived the regular season undefeated and won the UPI National Championship, which, you guessed it, was given out before the bowl games. Alabama faced off against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl, and after a nail-biting thriller of a game, the Fighting Irish came out with a win and the AP national title. Partly as a result, the UPI joined the AP in awarding their national title after bowl season. Bear Bryant's final 2 national titles were both consensus national titles, meaning that most or all of the major groups that awarded national championships gave theirs to the Crimson Tide. Both seasons ended with Sugar Bowl victories and sent Bryant into the history books. Okay, so let's just skip all of the 1980s and pretend that never happened, and here we go, 1992. Now, a lot has changed in college football when it comes to national championships. See, the major conferences formed what's called the Bowl Coalition, designed to clear up all of this confusion when it comes to who was really the best team in college football by doing everything possible to pair up the number 1 and number 2 teams in a bowl game. And it totally worked, and no one ever complained about national championships ever again. Just kidding, obviously that didn't happen, but it did improve things to the point where every Alabama championship we talk about from here on out is undisputed and unanimous by every major service that awards national championships. Okay, back to 1992. Alabama, led by coach Gene Stallings, caps off an undefeated season with a dominant win over number 1 Miami in the Sugar Bowl. The rest of the 90s and early 2000s, not great for Alabama. But it's okay, because in 2007, Nick Saban arrives to turn it all around, and 3 years later, Alabama wins its first BCS national championship over Texas in the Rose Bowl. 2 years later, Alabama sneaks into the Sugar Bowl against LSU despite losing to them in the regular season, and comes out with their second BCS title. 1 year later, they repeat as national champions with a thunderous stomping of Notre Dame. In 2014, college football switched from the BCS to a 4-team playoff to determine their national champion, and that didn't slow down Alabama one bit. The Tide won the playoffs in 2015 and 2017 to bring home 2 more national titles. And if you've been keeping track, that's how we got to 17. Are they all equal? Probably not. But hey, college football is a strange game with a long and complicated history, and you know what? We didn't even address the national titles Alabama doesn't claim that some fans think they should, but this is already long enough, so we'll leave that one for another day. I'm Jonathan Soboleski for AL.com. Sports? This is a weird day. Thanks for watching.
This video was brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor. Visit your local career center today to learn about our on-the-job training program for employees and employers.